I'd say is a nut job.
Okay, so I still have a couple of days before the doctor completely releases me to go back full bore. And let's be honest about it, after like 3 weeks of not doing anything, my strength is not going to be 100%. So it'll take me a few days to get into it. But here's what I'm doing. The very first car that was ever on my YouTube channel, ever, was the 67 Cougar. And it actually is one of only 2 cars that I still own that I had at that point in time. So it's kind of special. So I wanted to do a video today that kind of gave you the rundown through the history of the Cougar, because I don't think I've ever done it. And there is hours of video on this thing and just random things throughout the channel. So I'm going to try to break it down for you. First, the reason for the Cougar. Our Cougar is a 1967 Cougar. A little Power Tour 2023 sticker there. So it's a 1967 Mercury Cougar. So what's the importance of that? Well, here it is in a nutshell. My mother, who is in her 60s now, when she was a kid, her brother bought a 67 Cougar. And she drove it a lot. She fell in love with that car, and he ended up parting ways with that car. My entire 45 years on this earth, actually 44 years on this earth, she has talked about this car. Always brings it up. Every time we go somewhere, she talks about that Mercury Cougar. She loved that Cougar. It's the only car she ever fell in love with. So I embarked on a journey to find the car. And it took me probably 20 years to track this car down. I can't 1000% guarantee you it's the same car, but enough of the dots connect that in our minds it's the same car. Now, I wouldn't be able to prove it to everybody, but in our minds it's the same car. I found this car like just a few towns over, maybe another hour-ish of where the car went when her brother sold it. He bought this car, the guy I picked this car up from, bought the car the year after her brother sold it, and he drove it to high school. And then he let his brother drive it to school, and then to college, and then the car sat in a field. The car was rough when I found it. So let's take a look at what it looked like when I brought it home. This whole car is rough as a stucco bathtub. Vinyl tops are hard on cars, and this was no exception. You can see some rust right around the base where the top meets the quarters there, and that's the good side. But floors were solid, dirty but solid. I actually still have the center console. I need to put it in the car. The interior was good, no rips, no tears, but it was missing the dash pad. But that wasn't a big deal. We found one, replaced it. Body was overall straight on this car. The paint was a little rough, but the body was overall straight on this car. Had kind of a wink going on there because of the vacuum actuators on these headlights, which I no longer run vacuum on them. That's a story for a different video, but these normally run on vacuum, and the engine vacuum keeps them closed, which wasn't the case since, well, there's no engine in it. Again, body was super straight. Had some ugly 14-inch wheels on it, which are no longer on the car, thank God. You can see right there, this side was just roached on this thing, but luckily only the top was where the damage was. So there was other little signs that this was the correct car, but we were glad to have it home. We brought it home. We were tickled to death to have this car, and so then we was going to start the journey of this car. And that's kind of where we are now. I'm gonna make this as shorter or as short as I can. I'm gonna cut all these videos up into little just snippets and kind of give you an idea along the way of our journey. And if you want to go back and watch any of the videos, they're all just snippets from YouTube videos, so you'll be able to find them. And yeah, we'll take you along the quick version of this journey from when we picked the car up to where this car once again hit the road and started the power tour journey. And I mean, what more can you ask for? We love this car. Now, I will tell you, the car is on the trailer right now. It's because I went out in it the other day, and this is the original gas tank in it. That's my fault. This is the original gas tank in it. And there seems to be, from what I can deduce, there's a hole in the pickup tube. And when the fuel gets to a certain level, it starts sucking air and causes issues picking up fuel. So I've already got a new pickup the pickup tube sending unit and all as one piece, and I already got a new one for it. But it was about a week or so ago, and the medicine that I was on recovering from surgery, I couldn't really deal with the heat. So instead of being on the side of the road trying to figure this out, I just made a phone call, said bring the trailer out here, let's load it up and take it to the house, and I'll deal with it when I get home. So it's no big deal. It's just one of those things I couldn't deal with at that moment. So it's okay. The Cougar is okay. This is actually a just phenomenally great running car. So now about the motor. I started building a motor for it. And I built the motor with stuff that I already had to cut down on cost. Money's tight from time to time, so we use what we have. The short block is built. I'm waiting on 2 little pieces to come in, like I said earlier, and once those couple of little pieces get in, then we're gonna slam it back together. One thing we have decided to change here in the 11th hour, if you will, is I'm changing heads. Not keeping these heads, I'm changing heads to a different head. I started disassembling one right there, and I'm not keeping these heads. So as of right now, the short block is together, and I'm out for today. So y'all stay tuned. So here we have the little 302 engine, of course head studs, copper gaskets. I mean, we went out of the way to put the best stuff that I had here in it, and it turned out to be a better motor than what I ever thought it would be, just because we actually had some good stuff laying around here. And my mom liked the idea of the copper valve covers and stuff, so that's what we went with. The little Torquer 2 intake, it's really a good motor. I don't know how many days, I think it's been 4 days the engine's put together. I need to put another coat of paint on the oil pan, give it that old 70s mild on look. But I'm waiting on the bolt kit for the water pump, and yeah, then it'll be ready to go in the car. But I'm gonna strip this engine bay and paint the engine bay and all before I put it in. We tried to use stuff that we had here, so here's what we ended up with. 302 block. It was a 302 Mexican block, or I guess it is 302 Mexican block. I wonder if it came in illegally. Anyway, so it's a 302 Mexican block. We had a set of domed pistons here that are 60 overbore, so we used them. We had a good crank here, so we used it. We had a set of hypo heads here that had some work done to them previously. They've been ported. There's some heavy work done to these heads, but we had them here, so we put them on. It's got I don't even know what intake it is. I think it's a Edelbrock. It's an Edelbrock Torquer 2 intake, because we had it here. It's not the combination that you would expect in a car that's going to be street driven, and probably not the absolute perfect combination, to be honest, for street driving. But we had it here. So I think you're seeing the theme here. So we didn't have to invest a whole lot of upfront costs into things. We have converted to electronic ignition in this. So now we're in the process of bringing it back in the shop, and we're going to finish buttoning up the engine. Now we got to make it look respectable. So I took the time, I bought a parts car that had been wrecked, cut part of the roof off, sectioned out some of the rust where the vinyl top it was, welded it in, replaced that, sanded on the body, and put some paint on the car. Now the car was never meant to be a show car. It's a driver. So once again, with a budget theme in mind, this thing was actually painted with Ford tractor paint. The car looks good. I mean, I can't hate on it. It looks good, but it's not a show car. Keep that in mind. This car is never meant to go to car shows. This car is meant to drive. So Ford tractor paint. We actually picked this up at a local paint store, but you can get it at your farm supply places, probably cheaper, honestly. But I got somewhere around $100 in this paint job. Once again, a voiceover due to the fact that I had some music playing in the original video of this, but you can look at this and tell that the tractor paint actually looks really good on this car. It turned out nice. It looks really smooth. Now, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter. You know, some people are going to hate on it. It doesn't matter. The roof of this car was actually done with a spray-on bed liner, so it looks like a vinyl top, but I don't have any of the vinyl top problems. Again, just a driver. It's just made to look good going down the road. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's something that'll make my mom happy, and she can drive for the rest of her life and actually enjoy this car driving around every day. And that was truly the goal of this thing, was to make it something that was respectable just to drive around. And that's what we did. Is hackery a word? Let's just get started off on the right foot right now. Somewhere, somebody will be saying that today, that it's probably hackery. Today is the day I'm going to cut the hood. Why? Because the brake parts that were supposed to be in today, I got the phone call, they didn't come in. Gee, this is my shock face. So today we're cutting the hood. Now I'll show you how I do it. This is not how everyone does it. You don't have to do it this way. It's how I like to do it. This is just how I choose to do it. Now what I got to do is go get me a new saw blade, because I don't have another saw blade. So I actually prefer, a lot of people do it different ways. There's guys out there that take plasma cutters. That's fine. That's a little rough on your paint. There's guys out there that take a cutoff wheel. But rough on your paint. And a lot of sparks, a lot of noise, a lot of... Anyway, and I actually have a little air saw too, and that's the one I used when I done the Galaxy, and it worked good. But constantly running, and the air compressor's constantly running, and so let me tell you what I normally do, or what I do the majority of the time. I go straight prehistoric, dinosaur age on it. I get a really good high-end metal blade for jigsaw. Then, to save my paint, I tape the hood up with painter's tape, mark everything off. I'll drill a pilot hole for the jigsaw blade to drop in. Then I will also put tape along the foot of the jigsaw. I got very good control. Make a very good hole. No no cut over, no cut under. It makes a good square cut. Then I can come through there and just lightly dust the edges, and it's done. Perfect hole. Again, that's the way I do it. You don't have to do it that way, but you're gonna see it done that way. That hole right there should be just right to slip down over the carburetor. So we're gonna double check our measurements, and then, well, I guess then we get to cutting. Well, I'm sure you can't hear it, but you know, when cutting a hole in the hood and using a tire to keep everything off the ground and make sure you got space, make sure that the hood is not over the tread so you don't saw through your tire. Just a public service announcement. Well, I got a little adjustment left to do, but yeah, let's see if I can get backed up enough to where you can actually see the greatness here. Yeah, that right there is pretty good. I got just a hair left to do to get it just right. Well, that's pretty good. And I've got a pretty clever idea how to dress this up. But I'm not gonna tell you about that one. You're gonna have to just see it. But I got a pretty clever idea for it. But that right there is 70s at its finest. All right, so I had a pretty good idea of how to dress the hood up a little bit. So I wanted to go and continue on with that 70s kind of theme and give it this true 70s car like my mom would have seen at the time she was actually driving this car. So let's do lace right down the spine of the hood. Now, the car she drove wasn't tricked out, but this is the car she would have seen as a kid in the 70s. Now the car's running good, the car drives, car's got kind of a look going for it, but that scoop that sticks through the hood that's mounted to the carburetor, there were several reasons I didn't want to stay with that. One reason was that thing's just held on by a little wing nut, so anybody could have walked by, spun the wing nut off and took it and run off with it, and that's a real piece. That's a real period piece, so it's not a reproduction. Second, it left a little spose around it, so stuff could just fall right down to the top of the engine bay. It didn't really bother me, but it kind of did. But that was also one that I had borrowed from someone, and it was more of a safety thing. I didn't want it to get gone. So I wanted to build a hood scoop for it, something that would look correct for the build and kind of add to that 70s kind of theme. Although looking back on a tunnel ram and 2.4s would have done that too. So Cougar in the house. So I'm a guy that kind of just likes to go in on it. So I'm gonna pull some numbers out of thin air, make some lines, and kind of look at it, and then take these measurements over to the car and see what that looks like as far as the scoop goes on the car. But I think I want the sides, not this dramatic, but I don't want the sides flat. I want the sides to kind of have some rate to them, maybe just a little bit. All right, first bend. Let's go kind of slow with it and see how this works for me. And keep in mind, when you bend a piece of metal, you want to go past 90 a little bit, because metal has a memory and it does want to come back. Hey, I know that one right off the bat first time. You gotta I mean, you got to look at something cool while you're going down the road too, you know what I mean? It's not always about what other people see. My opinion, it needs a little more down rate, but May can make this work. I think it needs to drop off about right here and start down. But I think this may be the start of something good. It just needs more drop in the back of it, and I think I've got enough room to do it. Pointing it out. Fortunately, I have run out of death wheels here to chop this off, but this is what we're going to. You can see that ridge pretty good right there. This is going to be the scoop that you're going to see on the hood of the Cougar. Yeah, you can see, and I just throwed it on there so it's not even straight on the hood, but you can see how you'll have the little peak in the center. It's going to match the edges of the, how cool that right there is going to look. That is 70s bitching right there. Okay, so that kind of brings you up to date on what had been done to the Cougar. Really, the only thing left to do was put it to the test. What's the best way to put a car to the test if you want it to be a driver? Drive it. So we did what we do and we drove it. And then it's like, okay, runs and drives. We've put 50 miles on it. It's got a bunch of new parts in it. Let's do a 2,000 mile road trip. It's time for power tour. Yeah, that's what we did. First gas stop. So far we've made it about 40, 50 miles. Not quite, well, we're not quite halfway. 40-ish miles, I guess. So far, so good. All of a sudden lost spark, so a little side of the road butchery, and we were back on the road. Seems we had a intermittent spark issue back there. We got that resolved, and now it looks like we're going to drive into some rain. I thought it would be cool to put a big scoop on the hood and have the motor sticking to the top, so hopefully we don't suck too much water driving down the road, and this little patch of rain's over with pretty quick. Seems like we got the spark back. Seems like we got the power back we were losing. It feels frisky in the cool air. Cool air makes the Cougar frisky. Same way one too many drinks make Cougars frisky. We're trying to get that venue. Finally made it. find a 68 part next to though. See truck there too, because that's a sharp truck. It's a good looking truck. Turns out our loss of spark issue was not fixed. Turns out it was the brand new distributor that we had installed into the engine. So the gentleman stopped in a cool old Ford truck, gave me a quick ride to Summit to pick up a new distributor, dropped it in, and once again the car was fixed. And this time it was actually fixed and we were purring and ready to go. Go in a nutshell, we have condensed 2 years probably worth of this car, year and a half, something like that, of this car down into a 30-minute video. Again, it was the very first thing on the channel and there's stuff about it all the way up. You can go back and watch video after video of this thing. There's videos on how I installed the alternator on it with the Glimper belt drive system. There's videos on brakes, there's videos on suspension work, there's videos where I've done interior stuff, there's videos on everything on this car. I just kind of tried to hit the highlights of it because I thought people would enjoy it. Now, was there some issues on Power Tour? Absolutely. Issues with, ironically, new parts I put on it. But you can't be afraid to drive these things. These cars were built to be driven. When these cars were built, nobody in the factory goes, you know what? I'm gonna build a car that somebody's gonna put in their garage and take out once a year. No, 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 no. They said, we need to make something that can go up and down the roads of America and get people from A to B, and that's what these things do. So don't be scared to drive them. I mean, get out there and put miles on them. Lord, it is such an enjoyable thing to drive these cars. You can't get the kind of enjoyment out of driving a modern vehicle that you do driving these things. These are just such cool cars to cruise around in. Any of the classic cars are. So get out and enjoy them. Get out and drive them. This is a quick, again, 30-minute recap of the journey of the Cougar. Maybe that's what we'll call this video, the journey of the Cougar. And hopefully people are not looking for other kinds of videos. Anyway, it's a cool car. We enjoy this car thoroughly, and my mom loves this car. This car takes her right back to her childhood. She is so in love with this car, and that's what's important. This car gets driven all the time. I'm gonna change this fuel sending unit on it to get that pickup tube fixed, and ironically, the gas hand reads a little wrong, so that'll solve that problem too. Kill two birds with one stone. And we're just gonna drive this car and enjoy this car, and really just, I mean, this car brings a lot of enjoyment to my mom, and that's what it was all about. This car takes her back to her childhood. This car was for her. She loves this car, and we do too. We love to get out and drive this car. It is an absolute joy in our lives. So this is a quick recap of the entire journey of this car. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. There probably won't be many more kind of compilation videos made because the doctors say I can go back to a normal life into this week, and if that holds true, we're going to be getting to making new content and not having to recycle some of this old content. keep in mind a couple of things. First, go back and watch this video. I'll try to put it in like right in here. Well, I'm not smart to put a link in. I'll put a photo in it. Go back and watch this video. We are giving away an MSD distributor and time is running out to get in on that. You have to watch this video to find out the details on how to win that. And only the people that have commented on that video are even eligible to receive a distributor. So if you want in on it, you better get in on that video because time is running out. And I don't care who wins it, but you're not making it a hard choice when there's only a handful of people that have actually got in on it right now. So go back and watch that. I want to thank everybody again for all the prayers, love, and support. Lifting my name up to the Lord in my healing process. Please continue to do that. We are over the hump, but still not completely done with our healing. So, or my healing, I don't know who our is, but we're getting there, and we should be back to normal by the end of the week. Hopefully, Lord willing. It's all up to him and his plans. So again, hope you enjoyed the video on the Cougar. It's a mainstay here. There'll be more videos on it somewhere in the future, I'm sure. Maybe we'll do a video when we pull the sending unit out of this thing and change that and show you how to do it. It's really not that big a deal, but maybe we'll do a video on that. The second thing that I was going to say, I have some surprises stacked away for Legacy, our 63.5 Ford Galaxy, that is going to shock some people, but I believe everyone will understand why we're doing it. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to end this video here. Remember, get in on that MSD distributor. Go back and watch that video. That's the only way you're going to be able to get in on it. I hope the Lord blesses you today more than he did yesterday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're just basking in God's glory here and loving every minute of it. Thank you for all the people who have subscribed and follow our journey. I couldn't do this without you. And we got some great content coming in here in a few days. Stay tuned. It's going to get better. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
I'd say he's a nut job.